Caitlin Clark finally stood up for herself. No more staying quiet.
You want to know what happens when you go after the most important player in women's basketball and walk away without facing any consequences? Larry Bird. 3 championships. 3 MVPs. The hick from French Lick. A man who spent his career absorbing cheap shots, hard fouls, and relentless physical play from opponents determined to stop him. Yet he answered every challenge by becoming one of the greatest forwards in basketball history. He's also the man Magic Johnson reportedly suggested Caitlin Clark should call when the conversation about physical targeting first began. If anyone understands what it feels like to be singled out simply because you're the biggest star on the court, it's Larry Bird.
Let me give Caitlin some advice. Call Larry Bird.
Really?
Yeah, call Larry Bird. Ask him for advice.
Why not call you?
She can call me.
Oh.
But
what does
Larry,
he know? I mean,
Indiana, he's already there, and I think that he could give her great advice on how to handle this situation because he went through it himself.
Because Bird didn't just survive the kind of treatment Clark is facing today, he turned it into a championship dynasty. What happened on June 24, 2026, when Alyssa Thomas drove a closed fist into Clark's throat while she lay defenseless on the floor after the play had already ended, is exactly the kind of incident that tests whether the league has learned from basketball's toughest eras.
What I would love Caitlin to do is get up one time and then just slap the out of her.
A replay revealed the full sequence, 2 separate points of contact on a defenseless player while an official stood on the baseline watching it all. Yet there was no whistle, no foul, and no consequence. Clark exited the game in the third quarter with a back injury and never returned. The biggest star in women's basketball was sent to the locker room because the whistle never came.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
The next day, the WNBA upgraded the play to a flagrant 2 foul, suspended Thomas for 1 game, and fined her $1,000 for recklessly striking Caitlin Clark in the throat, calling it a non-basketball act. Thomas served the suspension when the Phoenix Mercury faced the Toronto Tempo on Saturday. Indiana Fever president Kelly Krauskopf later stated, "Player safety must remain the league's top priority. We appreciate the WNBA's review and disciplinary action. Right now, our focus is on Caitlin and our team."
The referees, the officials completely missed the call. Because this happened to Caitlin Clark, and we're in this mode where every time Caitlin Clark is fouled, anytime anybody breathes on her, it brings out the hottest, the most scorching of takes. So in Boomer Esiason's mind is that Caitlin Clark is straight and white, and therefore deserves a little bit more respect. And what he said was racist.
Before Thomas served her suspension, Mercury head coach Nate Tibbetts delivered a nearly 3-minute statement that sparked even more controversy. He strongly defended Thomas, insisting she wasn't a dirty player and calling Stephanie White's description of 2 cheap shots ridiculous. Then came the comment that grabbed everyone's attention. Tibbetts claimed the league based its decision on social media clips rather than a full investigation, saying neither he, Thomas, nor the team's security staff had been consulted before the suspension was announced.
My disappointment with the suspension process by our league and our leaders in the W. This was not a thorough investigation, in my opinion. The people involved were not questioned at all. It's extremely disappointing. No one from the league called AT, our security team, or myself about what we felt like happened in this situation. There is a protocol to be followed. Just coming from the NBA, there's been many investigations that I've heard about that there was calls on both sides, and that was not done in this situation, and that's disappointing.
A replay showed exactly what happened: 2 points of contact on a defenseless player while an official stood on the baseline watching the entire play. Yet there was no whistle, no foul, and no immediate consequence. Clark left the game in the third quarter with a back injury and never returned. The biggest star in women's basketball was forced to the locker room after a dangerous play went uncalled.
At the end of the day, it's basketball. Basketball is meant to be physical. Like I said, I didn't
even though that play happened. If you watch the clip back, no one in the stands, their bench knew that it happened. That doesn't change anything of how we play basketball. Basketball is a contact.
Thomas insisted the play was completely accidental, saying she didn't even realize what had happened until after the game. She also revealed that both she and her teammates had received death threats and racist messages in the aftermath of the incident.
Now we're being painted as thugs and there's death threats out on us, so it's really unacceptable. It's something that needs to change in this league, and I'm just really sick and tired of it. And there's a difference between trolling and there's a difference between hatred, and the hatred that we're experiencing over a play that honestly was a complete accident. No one even knew it happened. It's just unfortunate, but...
Thomas criticized WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert for remaining silent. But one fact remained unchanged. She described pressing her fist into Clark's throat while Clark lay on the floor as a complete accident, yet never acknowledged how dangerous the play was. There was no apology, no accountability, and no recognition of the risk to Clark. As Outkick noted, instead of addressing the play that led to her suspension, Thomas shifted the focus to herself. Both things can be true at once. No player deserves threats or hateful messages, but players must also be held accountable for dangerous actions on the court. The league has a responsibility to address both. Fans reacted immediately. One wrote, "The officiating is completely out of control. If this continues, the league's biggest star is going to get seriously hurt." Another posted, "Clark claps and gets a technical, but a fist to the throat gets nothing? What a joke." A first-time WNBA viewer added, "Is this normal? I've never seen anything like this." That first impression matters. With Caitlin Clark bringing record-breaking attention to the league, many fans question whether the WNBA is doing enough to protect its biggest star. Outkick's John Root summed up the frustration, writing that Clark deserves better.
Real time last night, I did not see that happen. I don't, none of our teams saw it happen, because I promise you if we would have seen that happen, we would have had her back. Unfortunately, this type of shit happens every single game to her, and the league and the refs do absolutely nothing about it.
It's been a minute since you got fined on this podcast.
I have, but then you see the videos of literally kneeing and cheap shotting C in the throat. If she did that to any of our teammates, we'd be pissed.
Larry Bird faced the same kind of treatment early in his career. Veterans tested him, and defenders tried to wear him down with physical play. But the league protected its stars, and Bird went on to become one of the greatest players in basketball history. His legendary rivalry with Magic Johnson helped transform the NBA into a global powerhouse. That's the position the WNBA faces today. Protecting its biggest stars isn't just about one player, it's about protecting the future of the game. That's why Magic Johnson encouraged Caitlin Clark to reach out to Bird, because few people understand the pressure and physical challenges of being the face of a sport better than he does.
Not surprised that the league went back and fined Alyssa Thomas, but I think at the same time, it's tough to think that official would have missed that they didn't have a replay on it. That was tough to me, and I think overall, the league's got to do better. The officials have got to do better, but also players. Players have to clean it.
Bird was targeted night after night. He never complained, and he never backed down. Instead, he answered with big performances, clutch shots, and championships until the league finally recognized his greatness. Caitlin Clark is taking the same approach. She lets her game do the talking, responding with points, assists, and outstanding performances every time she steps on the court.
In this particular situation, I thought that the last official should have been able to catch that. I was actually watching this game, and I was like, oh, wow, that was a bit much. So in that moment, I thought that the official missed the call. I'm not surprised that the league went back and fined Alyssa Thomas.
Clark has done everything the league could have asked for, and more. She's brought record-breaking attention and millions of new fans to the WNBA. Yet the response was a one-game suspension, a $1,000 fine, and claims that the decision was driven by social media screenshots. That's why so many fans are asking tough questions. The WNBA has a player many believe is transforming women's basketball in historic ways. Is this really the standard the league wants to set? Let us know in the comments.